what are your thoughts overall on filtering?
Filtering, honestly, there's a lot when people hear about filtering, and I'm going to try to move through this pretty quick. A lot of people see it but don't always know what it is. Sometimes they're called layered navigation. Basically, it's obviously where you can go to a site, and we've got a screenshot here where you see a lot of products, and then you can filter that down to what you need. And honestly, for large sites with a lot of products, especially with a lot of similar products, I think it makes a great addition to help people really find what they want. If we go on to the next slide, you can show we've got basically over time, there's a lot of different looks and layouts. We saw one there. There's two different ones here of different ways to do filtering on a site. Both on the desktop and on mobile, it changes, and a large part depends on your products. Depends on your customers. You've got things like Lucy down at the bottom here that all they've got is color and size. And when you have something simple like that, it makes a nice way to do this on the desktop, and I believe at some point we show the mobile does basically the same thing to make it very easy to use. You've got the one at the top right that's got different brands, price range, fit style, ear cuff type, all these things you can filter on. And so I think what you have to do is you have to look at your products and then try to figure out what's going to work. And as I said, it's constantly a changing landscape, I guess, in usability. We're all trying to figure out what really works. And so if you look at just about any site, they almost always differ from the next site on what's there. And so I think over time we're learning what does work. So if you go on to the next site here. Oh, we got a poll first.
Yeah, we got a quick little poll. Pull it up. Have you ever thought about adding filtering to your e-commerce store? Now, obviously, it doesn't apply to everyone. Some people already use filtering, and they're satisfied with it. Some people use filtering, but they quite haven't streamlined the process yet. And then there's a couple people who want to add filtering, whether it makes sense for them to do on desktop or mobile or both. And this is a multi-check if you want to check more than once as you're doing your answers.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
What people say. Oh, fair amount already use filtering. It's actually good. I mean, depending on the store, but very interesting to see. Very interesting to see. But certainly, it's one of those things that I think everyone has to think about, especially if they have a fair number of products. Which boils down to. And I think on our next slide at the beginning, and I don't know if you're able to go to the live site for this or not. If you got the link on there, we can kind of go there real quick. This is not even really filtering, but I wanted to show something just from a usability perspective. This is a site that sells lighting kits for your car, and they've got the shop by vehicle, which we're looking at. And if we click on cars, trucks, and vans, you go, okay, well I can oh, great, I can help me find it, and it comes up with this list. And honestly, when I look at it, I go, oh, it's all the years. Try to find a number on there real quick, and it's actually more challenging than you think. Because I think what happened is they came with this idea, and it's a great idea, but the programmer went, oh, it's just easy. I'll just put the numbers, from left to right and have it descend. But when you look at this and you see them in columns, your eye doesn't work that way. At least mine doesn't, and everyone I've asked doesn't. You generally think of it as like a newspaper column. You expect the numbers to go down the left column, then the next column. And that's not the way it works. So when I look at it and I have to find 1993 in the middle, I have to do a lot of looking. And then when you go through and you actually get to it, now you get to your model of your car. And I don't know about everyone there, and everyone has different opinions on this. I personally like to see it the reverse. I like to pick out my car first and work my way down, because now I've got too many choices here. And as you've had to make too many choices at the year. If my car wasn't available in 1966, why did I look at it? So we can go back to the slides now, but I just wanted to show what I think is a great concept, but I think usability-wise, the programmer sort of controlled how it was laid out, and they didn't really think about how the person was actually going to use it when they're browsing. This is obviously Macy's here that we're looking at. I think just as we've talked about with actual navigation, when you think about filtering, you've got to plan your navigation and your taxonomy, your organization of your products before you get down there. Macy's does something different, and actually we talked about this earlier. They've got the shop by size on the top, but they've also got it in the filtering on the side. They use theirs not only to navigate between products, but also sections in those products. That can be good or bad. I find it tends to be a little confusing, especially when it's in both places. I think it was JT mentioned that when you see it both places, you aren't sure if that does the same thing. So that's one thing I would say people really need to make sure to do is don't just use filtering as, oh, I have a whole lot of products, I'll just filter it. No, you still want to plan how they're grouped and how they're organized first. If we go on to the next slide here real quick, I'm trying to move fast here because we've got like 12 minutes left. This is showing off of an actual mobile site. And once again, what you allow people to filter by matters. This one's got a button that you click on your screen to pull up your filter options, and it has a drop-down. And the drop-down actually extends down beyond the screen. On a phone, that's not too bad because you can scroll and people are very used to it. But what I would say is make sure the important features that people are going to filter by the most list up at top because you make them do a little less work. On desktops, it does a similar type of thing, and so you just want to make them do less work. Okay, if we go on to the next slide here. Am I moving fast enough, Eric? Am I talking fast enough?
You're doing great.
Yeah, you're good.
We actually saw this site already. This is Magazine Line, and so I don't have a lot to show on this. You can go to the site and you can see how the filtering works. And I think in a lot of ways they do a lot of things right with this. If I go and if I select a price once this thing loads up here, you'll see the selection show up at the top of the screen. So if you check one of those boxes, just check any one of the prices or recommendeds or whatever, and it updates. And at the top, you can see your viewing and your viewing by price and up to $10. And I actually like that. And it actually does. We can't see it here on the mobile right now. I won't make it go that far. It does do it on mobile. It does it at the bottom, and I actually wish it did at the top, maybe in a little more compact format. But I think it does a good job. So if we go back to the slides now. So that's showing a left filtering, which you've got other sites that use it. Actually, Nixon, I think we'll skip for right now. We won't go to the live site on that. But the left filter, you've got, the fit. You've got the top filter. We've shown a Lucy's before, and you can see their mobile and their desktop here. It really depends on your products and how many choices you've got. Once you get to mobile, you've got to pretty much go to the top in one way, shape, or form. So once again, if you've organized and planned things out, it helps. Going on into displaying status for the users, make sure the new thing, and it's, I don't know if it's new, but the more common thing now to try and help, which Magazine Line did at the top, is showing what those active filters are above the filtering area or somewhere that's easy to see. Especially when you get to a mobile, it's nice to quickly see what am I limiting this to already. If you have to scroll down and see it all, on a desktop it's not as bad, but it just adds a little bit of extra usability. Okay, I'm moving. What are we down to, 9 minutes? And I'd like to get questions at the end too. But
Yeah, we're doing good.
Responsive. Hopefully people can keep up. This is one. Okay, let's go to this site for Macy's. I hate to pick on Macy's, but this personally just bothered me. This is going to show the mobile side of Macy's in the browser, so the widths are different than you would see on your phone. You just click away, so that little goes away. This filtering bothers me. They've got a nice button here for filter by, and that's not abnormal to use. If you click on filter by, it pulls out a menu that will slide out. Okay, I'm filtering by. Okay, let's filter by something. Let's pick size range or whatever, and click on that. Okay, there's another slide out. Okay, now I click on a size. Okay, so you click on a size. Now, what's important to notice is you can't hit back. You have to hit the done button at the top to now apply this.
Yeah.
But then you're not done because I click done. Now you must click. Now you must click apply to apply it. Now there may be some other combination I missed to make this work, but it's just a lot of steps to do that. Plus then, once again, now at the top here, I see nothing to tell me what I have now filtered by. You know, we just talked about having a status on there, and so I don't want to pick on them, but I found it fairly annoying. I actually, first time I went to try and use it, clicked in, but then didn't know I had to hit done and apply, so I hit the back arrow and then nothing filtered. So we can go back to the slides, but I just wanted to show people, you know, really how that worked. The slides, frankly, didn't do it justice on how much of a pain that could be. So you really want to think a lot about usability, especially when you get to the mobile phone. We mentioned before the whole above the fold thing. The nice thing on mobile is people do scroll. As much as, you know, the filtering on the right extends beyond the screen, that's not as horrible on the phone as you think, because people actually very normally scroll. In fact, I've seen some stats that even say in your add to cart button on mobile, it's even sometimes okay if it's just below the fold or just below the bottom of the screen, because people scroll so much, they generally scroll to see more as a habit. So I just wanted to sort of mention that when you're looking at mobile, I understand you want to worry about space, but don't worry quite as much about scrolling as you used to, or at least as you do on a desktop site. Whew. Okay, we're moving. Once again, back to Lucy's again, because there's a simple and easy. When you've got filters, try to limit to what makes sense to the user. Simplify if you can. I mean, there are some sites we've done where they've got 10 different things you can filter by, and that may make sense for that store, but really try to think about your users, because the fewer choices you give them, honestly, in some ways makes it easier on them. Now, that requires, of course, getting your product sections down to some kind of, you know, maintainable level that these numbers make sense. But just where you can, simplify, because it can help simplify what you can make the site look like, especially when you get to a responsive site, and how you make that filtering usable on that responsive site. Okay, we got one more set of slides, and this is sort of the filtering don'ts. We actually sort of covered one of these with Macy's. We'll go to the live site real quick on Nixon, Nixon.com. Because this is one thing that just sort of bothered me as I was using it. And they actually do this both on their mobile site and on their desktop site. So it's not specific to one or the other. But when you get to the filtering, if it loads here, if we go down to filter something, on the phone it may not be quite as bad, we'll see. If you click on filter and just scroll down a little bit, you've got to scroll down to actually see what you want to filter. Click on Essentials here under the style, and you'll see they do something different. They're actually sort of taking you to a different section page, but the most annoying part to me is this top banner now on Essentials is now showing back at the top. It's now scrolled me up past my products back to this banner. And on some of the filters, it'll scroll you back up to the top. You see this same little Essentials thing over and over again. Now it's filtered below, but I keep having to scroll down to try and see products. And on the desktop, it does the same thing. It has this big giant banner trying to push one particular, you know, product, and that's great. But it takes up so much of the page that when the filtering activates, I keep having to scroll down. I can't see those products. So just think about that. One thing that I hate saying it, but Amazon does well is when they have you filter, whatever they've pushed at the top actually disappears. Or you can have the page simply, depending on how you do it, not reload and just change the product area, which personally what I like, because then it makes it not have to leave and move from where you're at. We've already looked at the Macy's one. If we go back to the slides, we'll skip forward actually to the O'Neill site. That was the Macy's. We've already sort of seen that. The O'Neill site, you can go ahead and click through, and we can see this. And theirs does the same thing. If we look at the mobile, I think their desktop probably does the same thing. And it boils down to this. If possible, when someone is picking a filter, as this comes up, we'll have to get to an actual section there somewhere. Maybe click on the menu and get to a section to filter. Let's go to any section here. I'm moving. We got 3 minutes. when you click on filter options, it's great, on your phone, it clicks, and yes, you can scroll on your phone a little easier than you can on the desktop. But if you click on a size, click on anything to filter, what immediately happens is it closes up the filter, refreshes the page, and then once again, if I want to filter by 2 things, I got to reopen that. On mobile, I don't have quite as much choice in some ways. Sometimes depending on how you've laid it out, you may have to have it do that. Desktop, it certainly is not needed in most cases. But if possible, leave that open until a user wants to close it. Just because if they do want to filter by more than one item, and it's going to depend a large part on your products. If you've only got 30 products and you're filtering, that's not quite as big of a deal because they don't need the filter quite as critically. But if I'm shopping for like TVs on Best Buy and I had to keep dropping that drop down for my 4 different things that I wanted to filter by, I would get so annoyed. So that's the key thing to look at is, what is your user, what is your products looking like? My main thing coming out of this is same as Eric was talking about. Go through your site, make sure you've got it well categorized, and then when you get down to needing a filter, make sure it makes sense that you've got good products that all at least should be filtered together. Find what people can want to filter by, and then make sure it's usable on the phone, on the desktop. Have people that you don't know try it. Or can't do people you don't know, but have people that that don't know your site try it out on your site and give you their input and watch them use it too. Because some may say, "Oh, I really liked it," but then if you watch, they'll see they stumble as to how they get around it.